Chosen one, listen closely, because what you are about to hear is not just another message passing through your ears. This is a calling, a stirring deep within your soul, a reminder of something you've always known but perhaps forgotten in the noise of life. You didn't arrive here by chance. Out of billions of moments, distractions and possibilities, you are here now, and that alone means something is aligning in your favor. There comes a time in every life when everything begins to shift, not loudly, not all at once, but quietly, powerfully, like the turning of unseen gears behind the scenes. This is that time for you. The waiting, the wondering, the nights filled with questions, they were never empty. They were preparing you. Every delay had a purpose. Every heartbreak carried a lesson. Every silence was shaping your strength. You've been told before to be patient, but what no one explained is that patience is not just waiting, it is transformation. While you thought nothing was happening, everything was happening. While you felt overlooked, you were being refined. While you questioned your worth, something greater was aligning you with a love that matches your depth. Chosen one, your story was never meant to be ordinary. You were not designed for temporary connections or shallow bonds. You were built for something rare, something powerful, something that doesn't just touch your heart, but awakens your soul. And that kind of love does not arrive randomly. It arrives when you are ready to receive it, not just when you desire it. Think about everything you've been through. The times you gave your heart and it wasn't held the way it deserved. The moments you stayed strong even when you felt like breaking. The periods where you felt alone even in a crowded room. None of that was wasted. It was all part of a divine preparation, a process that only a few truly understand. Because real love, the kind that transforms your life, is not built on illusion. It is built on truth, and truth requires growth. Right now, something is changing within you. You may not have the perfect words for it, but you can feel it. You are no longer chasing. You are no longer begging for attention, validation, or affection. Something inside you has shifted from seeking to attracting, from longing to receiving, and that shift, that is where everything begins. You see, the love that is coming into your life is not arriving to complete you. You were never incomplete. It is arriving to align with you, to meet you where you stand, strong in your identity, grounded in your worth, and clear in your purpose. This is not about fantasy. This is about alignment. There is someone whose path is being guided toward yours at this very moment. Not by coincidence, but by timing so precise that even the smallest delay in your journey would have disrupted it. That's why things didn't happen when you wanted them to. Because if they had, you wouldn't be who you are now, and you wouldn't be ready for what's coming. Chosen one, this love will not feel confusing. It will not leave you questioning your value. It will not make you shrink yourself to fit into someone else's expectations. Instead, it will feel like expansion, like breathing deeper, like finally being seen, not just for your strengths, but for your truth. But understand this clearly. Powerful love requires a powerful version of you. That's why you had to go through everything you did, to learn boundaries, to recognize red flags, to understand your own needs, to realize that love is not something you chase, it is something you allow. Right now, you are standing at the edge of a new chapter, and like every meaningful beginning, it requires one thing from you: trust. Not blind trust, not naive hope, but grounded trust in everything you have become. Let go of the need to control how it happens. Let go of the fear that it won't happen. Let go of the timelines you created in your mind. Because what is meant for you does not respond to pressure. It responds to readiness, and you are becoming ready. There is a version of you that exists just ahead of where you are now. A version of you that is calm, secure, and deeply loved. A version of you that no longer questions whether you deserve happiness, because you are living it. That version of you is not far away. You are stepping into it with every decision you make to heal, to grow, and to believe in something greater than your past. Chosen one, don't ignore the signs. The way you've started valuing your peace more than chaos. The way you walk away from what no longer serves you. The way your standards have risen, not out of ego but out of self-respect. These are not small changes. These are signals. Signals that you are aligning with the life you once prayed for. And with that life comes a connection that mirrors your growth. This person, This soul who is approaching your life will not come to rescue you. They will come to walk beside you, to support you, challenge you, and grow with you. This connection will not be perfect, but it will be real, and real love. It builds, it evolves, it strengthens over time. You will recognize it not through grand gestures alone, but through consistency, through calmness, through the absence of doubt where doubt once lived. But before that connection fully arrives, there is something important you must do. Release the past, not just in words, but in truth. Release the people who couldn't love you the way you needed. Release the versions of yourself that tolerated less than you deserved. Release the fear that history will repeat itself, because the future you are stepping into cannot be built on the weight of what you refuse to let go of. Forgiveness is not about them. It is about you. It is about freeing your heart so it can receive without hesitation. Because the love that is coming will require openness. It will require vulnerability. It will require you to trust again, but this time from a place of strength, not desperation. Chosen one, you are not the same person you were before, and that changes everything. You are wiser now, stronger, more aware, and that awareness will guide you. So when this person enters your life, you won't have to guess. You won't have to chase clarity. You won't have to wonder where you stand. You will feel it, not as chaos, but as peace. Not as confusion, but as understanding. Not as fear, but as certainty. This is what happens when love meets readiness. And that moment, it is closer than you think. Right now, your only responsibility is to continue becoming the person who can hold that kind of love. Focus on your growth, protect your energy, honor your worth, because when the time comes, and it will, you won't need to force anything. Everything will flow, and you will look back at all the waiting, all the pain, all the uncertainty, and you will understand it wasn't a delay, it was preparation. Chosen one, your story is not behind you. It is unfolding right now, and the chapter you are entering will not just change your love life, it will change you. So stand firm, stay open, and most importantly, believe, because what is coming is not random. It is meant for you. What you once saw as delay, silence, or even rejection was never meaningless. It only felt that way because you were looking at it from the surface, from the place where expectations live. But beneath that surface, something far more intentional was unfolding. Every moment that didn't go your way, every connection that didn't last, every door that closed, it was all redirecting you, not denying you. There is a difference between being denied something and being prepared for something greater. At the time, it's hard to tell the difference. When something you wanted doesn't happen, it can feel personal. It can feel like you weren't enough, like you were overlooked, like life somehow skipped over you. But in reality, you were being protected from experiences that didn't align with who you are becoming. Timing plays a role that most people underestimate. It's not just about meeting the right person. It's about becoming the right version of yourself when that moment arrives. If certain things had worked out earlier, you might have entered them with the same patterns, the same fears, or the same lack of clarity that once held you back. And what could have been something meaningful might have turned into something painful instead. So the pauses in your life were not empty. They were full of quiet growth. They were giving you space to learn things you couldn't have learned any other way, to understand your worth without depending on someone else to reflect it back to you, to recognize what you truly need, not just what you thought you wanted. Think about how much you've changed over time. The way you see relationships now is not the same as before. You've become more aware of what feels right and what doesn't. You've developed boundaries. You've learned to walk away when something doesn't respect your peace. None of that happened overnight, and none of it would have happened if everything had gone according to your original plans. What feels like delay is often alignment in progress. It's life making sure that when something finally enters your world, it fits not just into your life, but into your growth. Because real connection isn't just about timing externally, it's about internal readiness. And readiness cannot be rushed. There are things that only time can build. Emotional stability, self-respect, clarity, patience. These are the foundations that support a lasting connection. Without them, Even the right person at the wrong time can become the wrong experience. So instead of seeing your past as a series of missed chances, start seeing it as a series of necessary steps. Each one moved you closer to a place where you are not just hoping for love, but actually capable of holding it in a healthy way. Everything that didn't happen when you wanted it to was making room for something that will happen when it's meant to. And when it does, it won't feel rushed, forced, or uncertain. It will feel steady, clear, and right. That's the difference between delay and divine timing. One feels like loss in the moment. The other reveals itself as purpose when you finally arrive where you were always meant to be. What you went through was not random, and it certainly wasn't wasted. Every heartbreak, every moment of loneliness, every challenge that tested your patience and strength, it all played a role in shaping who you are becoming. At the time, it may have felt like you were only losing people, losing hope, losing parts of yourself. But in reality, you were also gaining something far more valuable: awareness, resilience, and depth. Pain has a way of revealing truths that comfort never can. When things fall apart, you begin to see clearly. You start to understand what you truly need, what you will no longer tolerate, and what kind of love actually aligns with you. Before those experiences, you may have accepted less than you deserved simply because you didn't yet recognize your own worth. But struggle has a way of waking you up. Each difficult experience added a layer to your strength, not the kind of strength that makes you cold or distant, but the kind that makes you grounded. You've learned how to stand on your own, how to protect your peace, and how to walk away from what doesn't feel right. That kind of growth doesn't come from easy moments. It comes from facing what hurt you and choosing not to let it define you. Loneliness, as heavy as it can feel, also had its purpose. It gave you space to reconnect with yourself, to sit with your thoughts, to understand your patterns, and to rebuild parts of yourself that may have been neglected. In that solitude, you began to develop a relationship with yourself, one that is not dependent on anyone else's presence or validation. And that changes everything, because when you no longer rely on someone else to complete you, you begin to approach love differently. You're not searching for someone to fill a void. You're looking for someone who adds to the life you've already built. That shift is powerful. It turns love from something you chase into something you choose carefully. The challenges you faced also taught you patience, not just with others, but with yourself. You've learned that healing is not instant, and growth is not always visible. Some of your progress happened quietly, in moments no one else saw, when you chose not to react the way you used to, when you set a boundary, when you let go of something that once felt impossible to release. All of this has been preparing you for a deeper kind of connection. The kind of love that isn't based on surface-level attraction or temporary emotions, but on understanding, respect, and emotional maturity. Without those past struggles, you might not have recognized that kind of love even if it stood right in front of you. Now you're different. You see things more clearly. You value honesty, consistency, and peace over excitement that comes with uncertainty. You're no longer willing to settle for confusion or mixed signals. And that's because your experiences have taught you what real love should feel like, and what it shouldn't. So instead of viewing your past as something that held you back, start seeing it as something that moved you forward. Every difficult moment was shaping you into someone capable of giving and receiving love in a healthier, more meaningful way. You didn't just go through those struggles, you grew through them. And that growth is exactly what makes you ready for the kind of love that is real, steady, and lasting. There was a time when love felt like something you had to pursue, prove, or hold on to tightly. You may have found yourself overthinking messages, trying harder than necessary, or giving more than you were receiving, hoping that effort would turn into consistency, and consistency into something real. In that space, love often felt uncertain, because it was driven by fear of losing rather than confidence in receiving. But something has changed within you. You've started to understand that love is not meant to be chased into existence. The more you tried to force it before, the more it seemed to slip away or come with confusion. That's because chasing often comes from a place of lack, the belief that you need someone else to feel complete, valued, or secure. And when love begins from that place, it tends to feel unstable. Now you're stepping into a different energy. You're no longer approaching love with urgency or desperation. Instead, you're becoming grounded in who you are. You've begun to recognize your worth without needing constant reassurance from others. You've learned that your value doesn't increase based on someone's attention, and it doesn't decrease because of someone's absence. This shift is subtle but powerful. You're more selective now. You don't entertain what feels inconsistent. You don't ignore red flags just to keep someone around. You've stopped trying to convince people to see your worth, because you already see it yourself. And that changes how you show up in every interaction. When you move like this, you naturally attract different kinds of people, not because you're trying harder, but because your energy is clearer. You're no longer available for situations that drain you, and that creates space for something that actually supports you. Attracting love isn't about doing more. It's about being aligned. It's about being emotionally available, but not emotionally dependent. It's about being open to connection, but not attached to outcomes. It's about knowing that the right person won't require you to shrink, chase, or question where you stand. And this is where things begin to flow differently. When you stop chasing, you stop settling. When you stop settling, you raise your standards. And when your standards are rooted in self-respect rather than fear, the kind of love that enters your life begins to reflect that. You'll notice it in the way someone communicates with you, clearly, without games. In the way they show up, consistently, without being asked. In the way you feel around them, calm, not anxious. That's the difference between something you had to chase and something that is naturally aligned with you. This doesn't mean you've become passive. You're still intentional. You still make effort. But your effort now comes from a place of balance, not imbalance. You give, but you also expect to receive. You show interest, but you also pay attention to whether it's returned. That's what self-worth looks like in action. You're no longer trying to earn love. You're allowing it. You're no longer trying to prove yourself. You're simply being yourself. And the right connection will recognize that without needing to be convinced. This is the shift, from chasing to attracting. And once you experience it, you won't want to go back. Holding on can feel safe, even when what you're holding on to has already hurt you. Familiar pain can seem easier than uncertain peace, but the truth is, anything you refuse to release continues to occupy space in your life. Space that could otherwise be filled with something healthier, more stable, and more aligned with who you are now. Letting go is not about pretending something didn't matter. It's not about erasing memories or denying the impact certain people or experiences had on you. It's about recognizing that their role in your life has ended and choosing not to carry them forward into a future they no longer belong in. Past pain has a way of shaping your expectations if you're not careful. It can make you guarded, hesitant, or overly cautious. You might find yourself expecting disappointment, reading into small things, or holding back parts of yourself to avoid being hurt again. These responses are understandable, but if they go unaddressed, they can block the very connection you're hoping to find. Fear works quietly. It doesn't always show up as panic. It often appears as doubt, hesitation, or the need to stay in control. You might feel the urge to protect yourself by keeping emotional distance or by avoiding vulnerability altogether. But real connection requires openness, not blind trust, but a willingness to be seen without constantly preparing for things to go wrong. Unhealthy attachments can be even harder to release. Sometimes it's not the person you miss. It's the idea of what could have been, the version of the relationship you hoped for, the effort you invested, the time you gave. Letting go in those cases can feel like losing something unfinished. But holding on to potential instead of reality keeps you tied to something that isn't actually present. Creating space means being honest with yourself. It means acknowledging what didn't work, what wasn't mutual, and what didn't meet your needs. It means choosing not to revisit situations that already showed you their limits. And most importantly, it means giving yourself permission to move forward without guilt. When you release what no longer serves you, you don't become empty, you become available. Available for clarity instead of confusion, for consistency instead of unpredictability, for a connection that doesn't require you to ignore your own needs just to maintain it. This process doesn't happen all at once. There will be moments where old thoughts resurface or where you question your decision to let go. That's part of it. Letting go is not a single action. It's a series of choices you make over time to stop returning to what you've already outgrown. And as you continue to make those choices, something shifts. You start to feel lighter, more focused, more in control of your own direction. You stop looking backward for answers and start looking forward with intention. You become more aware of what feels right and more willing to walk away from what doesn't. The love that truly belongs in your life requires that space, not because it's demanding, but because it's different. It doesn't compete with your past, it replaces it with something better. But it can only do that if there's room for it to exist. Letting go is not loss, it's preparation. It's the step that allows something real to enter without being blocked by what should have already been released. True love does not feel like something you have to constantly decode, defend, or convince yourself of. It doesn't live in uncertainty, mixed signals, or emotional exhaustion. Instead, it feels steady, it feels clear, it feels like something that doesn't require you to shrink, question your worth, or overextend yourself just to maintain it. When love is aligned, it doesn't create chaos in your mind. It brings a sense of calm that you can actually feel in your body. You're not stuck analyzing every message or wondering where you stand. You're not left waiting for consistency or trying to interpret inconsistency as something meaningful. Instead, things are direct. Intentions are clear. Effort is mutual. There is a simplicity in aligned love that is often misunderstood. People sometimes associate intensity with depth or confusion with passion. But real connection doesn't rely on emotional turbulence to feel real. It doesn't need constant proving or dramatic highs and lows. It is stable without being dull, and meaningful without being draining. In aligned love, both people meet each other where they are, not where they wish the other would be. There is understanding without forcing explanations, and effort without keeping score. You don't feel like you're carrying the emotional weight alone. You don't feel like you're guessing what the other person means. Instead, there is emotional safety, an unspoken comfort in being yourself without fear of rejection for it. One of the clearest signs of aligned love is emotional security. You don't feel like you're walking on eggshells. You don't feel anxious about being replaced, ignored, or misunderstood. There is a sense of trust that grows naturally, not because everything is perfect, but because both people are consistent in how they show up. Growth is also a key part of this kind of love. It doesn't keep you stagnant or stuck in old versions of yourself. Instead, it encourages you to become more of who you truly are. It supports your goals, respects your boundaries, and values your individuality. You don't lose yourself in it, you expand within it. Forced love, on the other hand, often requires effort that feels one-sided. It creates emotional confusion where clarity should exist. It makes you question your value instead of reinforcing it, and over time it drains more than it nourishes. Even when there are good moments, they are often overshadowed by instability. Aligned love doesn't require you to ignore your intuition. It doesn't ask you to settle for less just to keep someone close. Instead, it reinforces what you already feel at your core, that you deserve something steady, mutual, and emotionally safe. When this kind of love enters your life, you won't have to force it to make sense. You won't have to overthink its presence or justify its behavior. It will feel natural, not because it is effortless, but because it is balanced. Both people contribute, both people care, both people choose each other consistently, and perhaps most importantly, you will feel at peace within it. Not because everything is perfect, but because it is real, grounded, and mutual. That is the difference between love that is forced and love that is aligned. It doesn't confuse your heart, it calms it.